Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, I've got a jam-packed show for you today. As I just said in our pre-show Facebook hit, we always do a quick hit for Facebook to tease a little bit of the upcoming show today. I've got some scandals for you. The Doge team, you are not going to believe what Elon and his Doge Avengers have now uncovered. It gets worse every single day. And the scandal now is by far the biggest in American history, and it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But first, my friends, Hollywood now goes all in on portraying Trump supporters as a bunch of racists and white supremacists. Tom Hanks, you know him, the Hollywood megastar, the Hollywood superstar. Frankly, I don't think he's done a movie worth seeing in about 30 years, but let that go. Really. What has this guy done for the last 2-3 decades? Well, Tom Hanks appeared on Saturday Night Live. It was part of their 150th anniversary special in which he was part of a sketch. And he plays a character called Doug. And Doug is a Trump supporter. And so there's Tom Hanks playing Doug, part of a game called Black Jeopardy, where I guess the contestants are black and the host is black, but Doug is the only white guy and he's the only white Trump supporter. And Doug, i.e. Tom Hanks, is dressed as a complete slob. He's got his Trump Make America Great Again red cap on. And not only is Doug a slob, but the way he's portrayed, he's a redneck, he's racist, he's bigoted, he's ignorant, he's stupid. In other words, he's a hick. He's a dumb, racist hick. That's exactly how he's portrayed. And I just want to give you a taste of the sketch. This is what Hollywood thinks is funny. This is what they consider great humor. This is what they think makes people, bust the gut as they watch this. And, on the 150th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. So the 150th season. Roll cut 12, Mike.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome at Black Jeopardy anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it White Jeopardy.
No. We don't need it. We don't need it.
I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. So he answers a question correctly, the Doug character, Tom Hanks, and then starts chiming just, out of the blue, starts going on about more people need to go to church. And if they went to church, there would be no problems in our country. And then the actor playing the Black Jeopardy host, he's obviously black, walks up and says, "Hey, I want to shake your hand. I want to congratulate you on that." And the racist Tom Hanks character, Doug, no, don't touch my hand. No, I don't want to shake your hand. Oh, I'm so uncomfortable to shake your hand. I don't want to shake a black man's hand. And then, of course, he grudgingly eventually does. And then he says, maybe we should do White Jeopardy. And they're like, no, we don't need White Jeopardy. You white people have enough already. So this is ha, 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 ha. Like, really, this is your idea of comedy? First of all, really, seriously, unless you're Bill in Sudbury or Frank in Gloucester, who the hell finds this funny? No, really, unless you're this complete, out of touch, woke moron who hates Trump supporters and just loves to just go on, and it's getting old, and it's getting tired, and frankly, it's getting really repetitive about Trump supporters being a bunch of racists. Who finds this funny? Seriously, who finds this funny? It's not funny. It's not even close to being funny. That's number one. Number two, so this is now what the liberal elites really think. This is what Hollywood thinks. This is what most of the liberal cultural elites, this is what they really think. You ask that Doug represents to them, the character played by Tom Hanks, represents to them the essence of who Trump MAGA, the Trump America First movement, the MAGA movement is. A bunch of dumb, ignorant, racist, quote unquote, hicks or quote unquote rednecks. The only thing they didn't miss, was that he had teeth. They should have had him with no teeth. That's it. That's the only thing. Really, with a hayseed in his mouth. Like that's literally, that's the only thing they left out. It's bigoted. You want to talk about discrimination. It's discriminatory against Trump supporters. And they're so stupid that they don't realize that they're literally now insulting over half the country. Trump didn't just win the Electoral College. He didn't just run the table on all the swing states. Trump won the popular vote. So what they're actually saying is that the overwhelming majority of Americans are racist. Like, just think about, okay, now, if this is your political cultural strategy going forward, then good, honestly, good, because you're going to keep losing landslide after landslide after landslide after landslide. So you still don't get it. Secure borders is not racist. Ending inflation is not racist. Deporting tens of millions of criminal, violent, illegal aliens from our country is not racist. Ending the war between Russia and Ukraine and the possibility of World War III is not racist. Rebuilding our military is not racist. Lowering crime is not racist. Making us energy independent and energy dominant is not racist. I could go on, but you see the point. Having lower taxes for everybody and a booming economy that works for the middle working class is not racist. And I guess they didn't get the memo. So let me send it to the left and the liberals one more time, to the moonbats. Trump has created a multiracial, multi-ethnic, majority working class coalition, political coalition. He won with black men. He won the Latino vote. He won Asians. He won Jews. He won women. He won men. He won the working class. So this, this meme of Trump is a racist, all Trump supporters are racists, they're all white supremacists. It reminds me when that moonbat, well, he doesn't call that often anymore. I guess he's been a little bit intimidated. But when Bill in Sudbury called maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we were discussing what was going on at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and how under Buttigieg and under Biden, incredibly, they put together a program to try to hire people with mental disabilities, epilepsy, emotional disabilities, physical disabilities, people who had no business being in a cockpit or being air traffic controllers. And Bill calls the show and says what Trump is really saying, wink, wink, is he doesn't want a female black woman to be working as an air traffic controller. Again, with no evidence. Okay, like this Tom Hanks character. There's no evidence to any of this that Trump supporters are racist or that Trump is racist. None whatsoever. And I'm thinking to myself, this is beyond Trump derangement syndrome now at this point. It really is. Because if you know anything about Donald Trump, you'll know that when he ran the Trump empire, the construction financial empire in New York City, literally one of his top vice presidents was a black woman. That in fact he hired many women and many blacks and many black females. So if this man was somehow a closet KKKer, a closet white supremacist, tell me, why would he hire women? Why would he hire minority women? Why would he hire so many Jews? Why would his daughter have married a Jew, converted to Judaism, and Trump has multiple Jewish grandchildren? And by the way, the best friend Israel has ever had. But it doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. Reality doesn't matter. Evidence doesn't matter. And so they're going to continue now, all the way. Okay, I want to play it one more time. It's making the rounds. Everybody, the whole country's talking about it. It's gone viral. So the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. I haven't watched it in decades, but at least 30 years. 30 years, I can just tell you personally, I don't pay attention to Saturday Night Live. I didn't find it funny 30 years ago. I haven't found it funny ever since. To me, it's politics masquerading as comedy, and it's not funny. So, and this is exactly why. So, on their 50th anniversary, they get Tom Hanks, who, very famous Hollywood actor, has done a lot of important films, a lot of recognized and very popular films, although hasn't frankly done much in a while, but let that go. So he plays this racist Trump supporter on SNL's 50th anniversary. He's a racist. He's a slob. I'm putting this in air quotes. He's, playing a redneck or some kind of a quote unquote ignorant hick. And he's at a game show. It's a black game show called Black Jeopardy. And he gets the right answer about religion, but then he starts to lecture people how we need more God and we need more religion. And if we had more religion, we wouldn't be the problems that we're in today. Okay, so basically they're trying to portray him as a quote unquote ignorant Bible thumper. Okay, that's the attack that they're trying to level against Tom Hanks. That's the character they're trying to create. And then the host says, "Oh, I agree with you, the black host in the skit." And he walks over to Tom Hanks to shake his hand. And of course, Tom Hanks doesn't want the character, doesn't Gary, or sorry, is it Doug? Anyway, Doug doesn't want to shake his hand. Okay? Doug doesn't want to shake his hand. He's very nervous. He's very reluctant because he's a racist. He eventually does. But, the Tom Hanks character is very, very nervous. In other words, Trump supporters are white supremacists. Trump supporters are racist. Trump supporters are ignorant slobs. Roll cut 12, Mike.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome at Black Jeopardy anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it White Jeopardy.
No. We don't need it. We don't need it.
I mean, this is stupid. It's stupid. I told you, it's for the Bills in Sudbury, the Franks in Gloucester. I mean, it's bad comedy. It's not funny. It's insulting. You can see this is for liberal snobs. That's what this is, for woke, liberal, out-of-touch snobs who like to make fun and mock and ridicule Trump supporters. They've never met a Trump supporter. They have no idea what a Trump supporter is like, who they really are. And so it's a caricature of a Trump supporter. Now, the reason why I think this is very interesting is Tom Hanks has gotten tremendous blowback over this. MAGA rightfully is not taking this lying down. And he's being attacked for being condescending, for being arrogant, for frankly being bigoted himself against Trump supporters. and for being incredibly out of touch. And I want you to listen now to Elon Musk, because Elon, in an interview, said, look, among the liberal crowd that I run with, the way they look at Trump's supporters as these bunch of neo-Nazi, white supremacist, racist, ignorant rednecks, the portrait that they have is literally diametrically opposed to reality. But if you just mention that you're voting for Trump, he says, when I said this to some of my friends, it's like somebody injected them with meth or they got rabies. They just went apoplectic. They lost their collective minds. They started to break down, almost break out in hives. Listen now to Elon Musk saying, I was at a friend's birthday party. This was just before the 2024 election. And all I had to do was mention Trump. And you are not going to believe how all of these liberals and moonbats reacted. Roll cut 4, Mike. We're having technical difficulties. Okay, let's see if Mike can fix those technical difficulties. But basically, in a nutshell, according to Elon, it's like somebody shot him with a dart, loaded with meth and rabies, and they just started to lose their minds. They went rabid. They just went absolutely rabid. Okay, you got it, Mike? Roll it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be adored by the left, you know.
Yeah, not anymore.
Less so these days.
You killed that, huh?
I mean, less so.
I really did it.
Well, I mean, this whole sort of like, you know, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't, you know, you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and everything was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name, and it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies. Okay, and they're like, wow. And I'm like, what is wrong, guys? Like, you can't have like a normal conversation. Yeah. And it's like it's like that they become completely irrational.
He's completely right. They lose their collective minds. They become completely irrational. Yelling, screaming, racist, Nazi, Hitler, 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 Hitler. And this is the kind of dreck that Saturday Night Live is producing about Trump supporters. Now, what I'm telling you is this. They would never do this for the supporters of any other president. I'm telling you, they never would do anything like this. To be this nakedly bigoted, this nakedly discriminatory, this, you want to talk about painting with a broad brush, to be this openly insulting and vile. And so, look, I understand Tom Hanks's career has been going downhill for a long time. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me ask you a couple questions. Want to open it up to the great phone lines. Did you see the skit? I'm just curious. Do you watch Saturday Night Live? The left acts like it's got still tremendous amount of cultural power, that people still watch it, that it still has a lot of influence in shaping people's views and perceptions and attitudes. Frankly, I don't think so. I think you want to know why their ratings are in the toilet? This is why their ratings are in the toilet. They're just not funny. There's no comedic value. And they're basically political activists, Democrat activists, left-wing, hardcore left-wing activists, woke idiots, really, masquerading as comedians. And I don't know what is funny about denigrating, mocking, vilifying, and demonizing Trump supporters. You know, I'm a racist. I hate black people. I hate brown people. I hate damn Jews. I don't wash. I don't shower. I haven't brushed my teeth in 40 years. Yeah. I voted for Trump. That's what I am. I'm Tom Hanks, and I think I'm being funny. Okay, that's the skit. Okay, in a nutshell, that's the skit. I don't shake no black man's hand. You understand? I'm also religious and stupid. So I'm telling you, we need to go back to religion. Things were better under religion. Where's my hayseed? I need it in my mouth. So this is how they try to portray us, and how they try to portray 77, almost 78 million Americans who voted for Trump. Now, I'm telling you, Hollywood's going to go bankrupt. You keep this up, no one's going to watch your movies, no one's going to watch your shows. They're already in the process of going bankrupt. I guess they haven't learned a thing. Now, just to me, this is clear discrimination. You cannot say this about any other group of people and get away with it. So I think, as I said before the break, Hollywood has declared war on us. Tom Hanks has declared war on us. And make no mistake about it, he was a big Biden supporter, a big Obama supporter, a big Kamala Harris supporter. So he plays on the screen at times these sweet, all-American characters. But this guy is one nasty liberal globalist. And he puts big money behind his politics. And now he's done this sketch to really try to taint and dirty up Trump supporters. Well, I think it's time we declare war on him. Boycott all of his movies. Don't watch a single thing with him in it. Now, I know he's got a gazillion dollars, but what these people care about is always the fame and being relevant. Make him irrelevant. If you don't watch his movies, and you don't watch his shows, and you don't give him any attention whatsoever, it's going to eat him up like a cancer. And I think it's time that we taught these Hollywood leftists, these limousine liberals, a lesson. Shut up and act. We're not interested in your stupid politics. And if you're going to insult America and Americans, then you know what? We're going to boycott you with our wallet. And maybe if Hollywood goes bankrupt, they're finally going to learn the lesson. So my question to you, what do you make now of Hollywood and its despicable portrayal of Trump supporters? And let me even broaden it a little bit more. Have you met liberals who genuinely believe in what Tom Hanks and Hollywood is peddling, or what Elon said, that if you mention Trump or say anything positive about him, they start to act like they have rabies? That they truly treat us and think of us as a bunch of racist, white supremacist, moral reprobates. Neanderthals. Have you ever been treated by a liberal, or have you ever heard liberals talking in a way similar to what Tom Hanks acted on the screen and what the Hollywood elites think of us? Are they really that ignorant and that stupid? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Mark, you're going to kick us off in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. So, first of all, Jeff, Saturday Night Live has sucked now for about 20 years. Okay? That show's not even relevant anymore. I don't even know how people still watch it. But I did watch it just to see the old guys that used to be on that show that were actually funny. But don't you find it hilarious, Jeff, that about half the people on that guest list Saturday night and that was sitting in the audience, weren't those the same people that said when Trump wins they were leaving the country? But they're still there. They're still there. And you know what, Jeff? It just goes to show you that even a liberal whack job moonbat like Tom Hanks, if you give him enough money, even he'll put on a MAGA hat. I'm surprised his head didn't catch on fire.
Mark, what did you think of the skit itself and his portrayal, essentially, of you? I mean, I'm not, not you specifically, but a Trump supporter, me, this audience, the 77, almost 78 million Americans who voted for Trump. What did you think of his portrayal of us?
Stupid, Jeff. He's acting like they say we're acting. You know what I mean? They're doing the stuff that they say we're doing, which we're not. And these people are such freaking hypocrites. And as far as what Trump and Musk are finding out with Doge, anybody that has a problem and that's upset about finding out where our money is going or not going, they fall under the category just of a special kind of freaking stupid.
I agree. No, Mark, I agree. And look, and I think this is where the left now, whether it's Hollywood or the media, are really dangerously out of touch. I don't know if you've seen now the approval ratings for Trump. They're way over 70%. He's much more popular now than he ever was in his first term. He's now one of the most popular presidents ever. Ever. The American people love what he's doing with Doge. They love what he's doing with the border. They love what he's doing with energy. They love what he's doing with crime. They love what he's doing with banning men from women's sports and locker rooms and showers. And I could go on and on. I mean, this is becoming one of the most popular, effective presidencies in American history. So they look even more unhinged and more deranged and more out of touch. Honestly, you're right. Tom Hanks made a fool of himself. The guy looks like an absolute idiot. Mark, as always, thank you so much for that call. Agree, disagree. Our Western PA correspondent, Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Jeff, if they keep up down this road, the Democrats and the deep state and the rhinos, look at Mitch McConnell. He's a perfect example of what we're talking about this morning, even though he's got an R in his name, rhino. Jeff, they're going to end up losing more seats in the House come this midterm, and it's going to be a historical landmark because usually the midterms of the current president, they usually lose seats. Am I correct if history repeats itself?
Yes, no, you're right. And Dave, I want to ask you this. What is the political cultural strategy to tell the American people, the majority of the American people now, you're all a bunch of racist redneck hicks. You're racist, white supremacist rubes. Like, what's the strategy? So, keep spitting in the faces of Americans. And what, they're going to vote for you? Is that their strategy? Because if it is, you're right. They're going to lose even more seats. Final word to you, Dave.
Dave, Jeff, sorry. Here's the thing. They think they had forgotten about the USA thing that the media has received a lot of money. I wouldn't be surprised if Saturday Night Live didn't receive any money from the USA, like the New York Times, the Associated Press, and all the other ones. But, Jeff, they're going to find out that they think we're stupid. And the other ones that are actually dumb, they're the ones with all the college degrees and think they're smarter than everybody else. And guess what, Jeff? They can have a college degree in basket weaving. Me and you get a PhD in common sense, buddy.
Amen.
And that's what it boils down to.
Oh, Dave, they lack common sense. I think, honestly, they lack moral decency. And to attack you, to attack me, to attack us in that way, in that kind of a personal, the kind of vilification, these people are sick. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. Let me ask all of you this, and please be as honest and candid with me as possible. Are you offended? Like, are you personally offended with the portrayal of a Trump supporter, the demonization, the denigration of Trump supporters that was portrayed by Tom Hanks on that 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live, that sketch, that we're just a bunch of dumb, racist, white supremacist, hicks, quote unquote. Slobs, really, a bunch of racist, Nazi-loving slobs. Are you offended, or do you just don't care what Tom Hanks thinks of us, what Saturday Night Live thinks of us, what Hollywood thinks of us? And by the way, I agree with almost everyone who's been texting into the show. 70470. 70470 is the text number. And those messaging me on Messenger and emailing the Kuhner Man. I think there's no question money has been flowing to Hollywood from the government. We're finding out, and trust me, I've got a scandal for you. Holy mackerel. You're not going to believe now what Musk and his Doge team have now unearthed. You're not going to believe it. But I wouldn't be shocked that if billions of dollars have not been flowing into powerful directors, powerful actors, powerful organizations in Hollywood and in television. Because the way they've been hating Trump and the way they've been mercilessly, ruthlessly attacking him and his supporters, they've got to be on the take. So it wouldn't shock me at all. In fact, I'm telling you, it's 99.9% likely that Hollywood's also been on the gravy train. 617-266-6868. Are you offended? Are you insulted? Or do you not care? And is it time to boycott Tom Hanks and Hollywood? I say yes. What say you? Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Jeff, thanks for taking my call. Did these people ever hear the adage, quit while you're behind? I am so sick of these people with this nonsense. Now, I recorded Saturday Night Live on Saturday night because I wanted to see the old skits, right? I'm going to erase it now. I don't even bother looking at it. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm just going to erase it. To do that to us is just so hurtful. I mean, I used to think Tom Hanks was fantastic as an actor, but after this last episode, he's done with me. I'm sorry. No more Tom Hanks, nothing.
Bob, were you I'm just curious, were you personally offended?
Absolutely. And I haven't even seen it. Just your description, I'll never watch anything he makes again. Never.
Bob, this is what I don't get. Michael Jordan famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too. Meaning, I'm not going to offend half the country. I want to sell sneakers. In other words, I'm not just a great athlete, I'm a smart businessman. So I want to sell Air Jordan Nike sneakers. I'm not going to go out of my way to make fun of Democrats or make fun of Republicans or make fun of independents, or why would I do that? I want their money. Hollywood, ultimately, if they don't have enough people who are going to pay a ticket to go see one of their movies and buy some popcorn and a soda or whatever, eventually they're going to go bankrupt. They're going to go kaput. Doesn't Tom Hanks understand that? That when you're giving the middle finger to 77, almost 78 million voters, you're not just attacking Trump. You're literally attacking those who voted for Trump, literally, and mocking them in the most disgusting, heinous, offensive way possible. Doesn't that idiot realize, they're not going to buy another ticket from me to see any of my movies? And it's not, okay, he's got the money, I get it. He can, live in luxury for the rest of his life. But don't these people want to remain famous? Don't they want to remain relevant? Don't they want to have a hit movie? Don't they want to still remain popular? Or, Bob, are they so blinded by their ideology, their liberalism, that they don't even understand their own basic self-interest? Floor is yours, Bob. Final word. What say you?
Interesting is, if Vance became president, which I think he might, they'll do the same thing to him. And the guy's done nothing wrong but improve his whole life. He started with nothing, and they'll degrade him for no reason.
I agree. Bob, I agree. They're going to hate Vance. They're going to hate JD as much as they hate Trump. Look what they're doing to Elon. I mean, they hate him now as much as Trump. So anything that advances an America first, populist, patriotic agenda, they will destroy you. And they will destroy anyone who supports them. Bob, thank you very much for that call. Victor in Maryland, thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Good morning, America's talk show host. Go National!
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Victor, what did you make of the whole Tom Hanks his sketch, his skit, and the way he portrayed you, the way he portrayed me, the way he portrayed all of us?
Okay. I'm blind, so I don't watch television anymore because it's too visual. One thing you got to remember about liberals, they're always looking to get their feelings hurt. I went through this with my former wife who was liberal, and the least little thing would offend her. I don't care what people say about me. I've been called a racist, and my line is, how can I be a racist when I can't see you? And that stops them right in their tracks. Now, I'm in a bind because I have to depend on my neighbors to help me get things done, like take me to the Safeway, for example, to get groceries. So I have to watch what I say, but they know I'm a conservative, and I guess they're tolerating me because I've been in this house for 53 years, maybe a little bit longer. I bought the house in 71. So I've seen the neighborhood come and go. And right now, my neighbor across the street, she does not like Trump at all, but she's starting to face reality and is starting to ask questions like, how come you like Trump? And I said, well, Trump reminds me of how my father brought me up. Nobody really liked him that much, but he got the job done by raising me and not feeling sorry for myself because I'm blind, and made me get a job when I turned 21. He says, you're not going to be a bum and sit on your butt and collect welfare. You're going to work just like everybody else did. So, like I said, the liberals, they're always looking to get their feelings hurt. I'm offended by this. I'm offended by this. I'm going to be 78. I don't care what people say about me anymore.
Well, you shouldn't. Victor, look, you've not just talked the talk, you've walked the walk. And, you're a man who's blind with a serious disability, and look what you've made something of yourself. You've worked hard, you've paid taxes, you've contributed to society, you're an avid talk radio listener, you're obviously a very intelligent, articulate man. Look, I think you should be immensely proud of everything you've achieved in your life. And I love your answer. Trump reminds me of my father. And my father's America, which is don't make excuses for yourself. No matter what. Go out, work, don't be a bum, don't be on welfare. And if you can work. If you can contribute. And no excuses. And I think ultimately that's what they hate about Trump. Trump really is John Wayne's America. He's the old America, the historic America, the real America. And that America is coming back. And they don't know what to do. And so all they have left is satire and ridicule and mockery and cheap insults. So, okay, insult us, mock us, make fun of us. It's all a lie. I don't recognize that person that Tom Hanks played. I don't. I've never met. I can't tell you how many Trump supporters I've met in my life. Okay, not only am I a Trump supporter, my wife, and even my children, but I'm saying people that I meet in this great audience. It doesn't matter, at events, at grocery stores, at where, I don't care, movie theaters, shopping malls, restaurants. I meet them everywhere. I've never, ever in my life met one person that comes anywhere close to this character being portrayed by Doug, the character being the racist Doug, the character being portrayed by Tom Hanks. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. So this is what I mean. This is a creation of their fevered imagination. Their sick, twisted Trump derangement syndrome imagination. Look, I go back to this, and thank you very much for that call, Victor. There's something about the liberal mind, and I've referenced him once already. Let me reference him again. Bill in Sudbury. This is why I have him on. Many of you always complain, well, Jeff, why do you have him on? The guy's such a waste of time. He says the stupidest things. That's the liberal mind. I want you to hear the liberal mind for a couple of minutes. And it's a scary thing. Liberalism truly is a mental disorder. But there's something else. He was diagnosed with cancer. I'm just going by what he told me. And he calls the show to let us know that he's got cancer. I believe it was rectal cancer or colon cancer or whatever. And I said, whoa, Bill, I don't care what your point is about now. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your health. Are you going to be okay? And as he's talking about, well, his doctor says he's going to be fine. You're going to give him treatment. Hopefully everything will work out. The text line is going crazy. And these are all Kuhner Country listeners, Trump supporters, who are saying, hey, look, I disagree with Bill on every issue, and he really gets under my skin, but I want to give him $100. I want to give him $500. I want to give him $250. Jeff, how do I give money to him to help him with his chemotherapy, to help him deal with his cancer, because we don't want Bill to die of cancer? So I say to Bill, I just want you to know there's a tremendous outpouring of support. A lot of people in this audience who disagree with you politically on almost everything are saying that they would like to give you some financial help because they don't want you to, God forbid, die of cancer. They want you to tackle and beat this cancer. Bill's answer was he doesn't take money from neo-Nazis and white supremacists. That was his answer. And I remember I was shocked. I said, are you normal? Are you okay? So people, many of them on fixed income, many of them elderly, many of them on Social Security, are willing to give you $100, $200, $300, in some cases $500 check to help you with your rectal colon cancer. And your response is to spit in their faces and call them Hitler-loving Nazis and white supremacists? And this is when I told him to his face, you are a totalitarian thug. You are a totalitarian scumbag. That's what you are. You can't recognize the humanity in other people. Because if you know anything about history, and obviously you don't, Nazis saw their political opponents as rats to be exterminated, not as human beings to give them a $200, $300, $400 check to help them with their cancer. If you can't understand this most basic fundamental point, then there's something seriously wrong with you in the head. Now, I'm telling you that he loved that Saturday night portrayal. Because that's how he paints me. That's how he paints Trump. That's how he paints every supporter or every listener on this show. So what I'm saying is, even when they have cancer, and you would think this would humble them, and you offer them in their hour of need, much needed help and assistance, care, compassion, love, money, his answer is, I hate you. I hate you. You are Hitler. You will always be Hitler. You will die as Hitler. Now, you can't reason with people like that. That's what Elon Musk was trying to say. Now you're dealing with people who are fundamentally irrational. They're so consumed with hatred and with propaganda. They've been so brainwashed and indoctrinated that, I'm sorry to say this, it's almost like they've lost their souls. There's something human is gone. It's missing. I want to play Elon one more time. Okay? Russ in Boston is waiting. I'm going to go to Russ. But I want to play Elon one more time. This is an interview with Sean Hannity along with Donald Trump. It's both Musk and Trump, but it's Elon now talking. And he says, I was at a friend's birthday party. It was about maybe a month, 2 months, whatever, before the 2024 election. And they're all liberals because, Musk is a billionaire, multi-billionaire. So he runs with a very liberal crowd. Billionaires on the whole tend to be globalists, Democrat, and very, very liberal. Think of Bill Gates, think of Jeff Bezos, think of George Soros. I could go on and on and on and on. He says, so we're having a great conversation. And I just mentioned the name Trump. I just mentioned his name. Listen to Elon. Roll cut 4, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be adored by the left,
Yeah, not anymore.
Less so these days.
He killed that, huh?
I mean, less so.
I really did it.
Well, I mean, this whole sort of like, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't, you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies. Okay, and they're like, wow. And I'm like, what is wrong, guys? Like, you can't have like a normal conversation. Yeah. And it's like like they become completely irrational.
He's right. I'm telling you, he's completely right. Liberalism is a mental disorder. They become completely irrational. They don't sit down and say, I don't like Trump. Okay, why? Well, A, B, C, D, E. What say you? And you have a discussion. No, he's right. They start foaming at the mouth. He's a racist. He's a white supremacist. He's going to get us all killed. Nazi. He's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. It's like, he's right. It's like rabies. It's like their brain. It just goes rabid. You can't argue. You can't debate. You can't discuss with these people. All you can do is feel sorry for them. And the portrayal of Tom Hanks, to bring it full circle, of this character Doug, the MAGA hat wearing slob, the Trump supporter, the racist, okay, the rube, that was an actor on rabies. That was an actor on exhibiting full Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't think he realizes this, but professionally, he just cut his own throat. I will never see a Tom Hanks movie again. And I'm telling you, from the reaction and the blowback, 70 million Trump supporters will never see another Tom Hanks movie again. So, good move, genius. You just destroyed your career. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff, the first thing I want to say after what you just said, okay, is that honestly, I am proud of being part of Kuhner country because we are made of decent, God-fearing, forgiving people. And believe me, when it comes to character, it doesn't get any better than that when it comes to character, Jeff, for sure. Now, during World War II, it was said, Hollywood goes to war. Today, Hollywood goes to the toilet. The majority of Hollywood actors take drugs and screw each other in the trailers. They have no class whatsoever, okay? They're ungrateful fools with no class. Hollywood and network TV does not get my time or my money. They are that ignorant, politically stupid, and out of touch with the common person. To the so-called highly educated elitists that want to tell us how to live our lives and all, they never confuse brilliance, okay, with education. Okay, the fact that they may be highly educated doesn't mean that they're brilliant at all. And Jeff, no one can offend me because I just discount the source, and all I want to be is judged by the content of my character.
Very well said, Russ. Honestly, as always. To me, I'm exactly the same. I don't care what these liberals think about me, and I certainly don't care what Tom Hanks thinks about me. But he's insulting you. He's insulting this audience. You insult my audience. I'm sorry. I get defensive. Because you're right. When it comes to character, nobody beats this audience. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, take it to the bank. And we deserve better than this. hardworking, patriotic, tax-paying, decent Americans deserve a hell of a lot better than this. Russ, thank you very much, as always, for your call. Rich in North Reading, thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome.
Jeff, thanks for getting to my call. I've been trying to reach you for so many months. It's just great to be on with you. Number one, Trump needs to go after Hollywood after their guns. They have been glorifying the use of guns, the proliferation of the use of guns for years and years. They probably made billions and billions and probably trillions of dollars. You can't take your little bambinos to any movie without seeing previews or publications all along the movie theater showing the guns, it's unbelievable. You can't watch TV at night without seeing almost every single commercial is just another show with violence. The violence is mind-boggling what we see on TV and the movies.
Okay, Hollywood now intensifies its war against not just Trump, but in particular Trump supporters. Saturday Night Live, in a huge skit, 50th anniversary special, Tom Hanks portrayed a Trump supporter, name of Doug, at a Black Jeopardy, that was the sketch, at a Black Jeopardy show, in which Doug is very uncomfortable, the Trump supporter, Tom Hanks, shaking the host's hand because he's black. He's presented as a slob, as a racist, as a Neanderthal, as primitive, as a white supremacist. And this is their idea of comedy. Is it time to finally boycott Hollywood and every single movie or appearance of Tom Hanks? I say yes. What say you? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from 603. Jeff, I'll tell you why I'm really not that offended by Tom Hanks's SNL skit, and I'm certainly not surprised by it, as this line of attack and these dishonest smears is all that the pathetic losing left has. Before I get offended by such a thing, I must always weigh the critic it's coming from. Not only is Tom Hanks a quote-unquote has-been of an actor, but in his private life, very creepy rumors have swirled about this guy for quite some time. And many members of your audience know exactly what I'm talking about. You should just read the public's comments on X about this creep. Enough said. Next. I've been reading those comments as well. And let me just tell you, if 1/10 of what they say about him and his private life is true, ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. This is the last guy that should be lecturing anybody. Never mind Trump supporters. Let me just say that. Okay, this is from Eric on Messenger. And this is what he messaged me. Jeff, Hanks is creepy. He even claims, I did not know this, he even claims he's related to Abraham Lincoln. Really? I'm just hoping no one tells Lincoln that, because I don't want him to roll around in his grave. Well, I think after a while, really, you just make so much freaking money and you become so insulated and you become so arrogant and you become so full of yourself that you really do begin to lose contact with reality. And I think, frankly, that's what's happening with Tom Hanks, who, by the way, is reported, these are the rumors, reported to be on the Epstein list. And that's going to be coming out now any day. So this could be his last hurrah anyway. 617-266-6868. Let's go to Vince in Deutschland. Vince in Germany. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
For taking my call, Jeff.
Hi, Vince.
Hey, remember a few months back when we talked about Mark Halperin and the Tucker interview, and Tucker had said, what do you think is going to happen when Trump takes office? And he's like, you're going to see the biggest mental health crisis in this nation's history. And that's basically what you're looking at. These are the flailings of people that are completely panicked. They know the Epstein list is coming. They know Tom Hanks is one of the big names on it. And that's what's going on. And, you know, I have to say, this is just a liberal echo chamber. These people are crass. They're vulgar. And as far as Saturday Night Live goes, Jimmy Carter dying a few months back, they started to play some old clips from the original cast. And I have to say that even back then, that cast was barely funny. I mean, Dan Aykroyd playing Jimmy Carter was hilarious because it just showed how out of touch and pompous Jimmy Carter was. But if you go back to Gerald Ford, played by Chevy Chase, and he's like, remember he used to trip all over himself?
Yes, yeah.
He was just like he was just like this clumsy dope. It wasn't even funny. It was stupid, you know? It's like you could count the episodes on your hand that Saturday Night Live was actually funny. And when it was funny, what were they doing? They were making fun of liberals, or they were pointing out stereotypes. And that was the funny stuff, like Eddie Murphy doing Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that they did that was funny. Anytime they try to poke fun at conservatives, it's just not funny. It's just dumb, you know? And I have to say this, talking about Hollywood and their pocketbook, dude, everything's Netflix, Amazon Prime. Nobody goes to the theaters anymore. You know, Hanks put out a movie a couple of years ago. It's called Greyhound, about the Battle of the Atlantic, which was a very good film. I thought it was a great film. And it got so many views on Netflix. That's where these people make their money. They don't make it at the box office anymore. So they could care two piles of dung what you think about them. They really could. You know, they're still going to get paid.
Interesting. Vince, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. I don't watch Netflix. I mean, I'll be on Amazon Prime, Netflix. I just don't. I don't have time. But, so I wasn't aware of that extra revenue stream that you're talking about there, Vince. Look, I remember when I was a teenager, everybody was like, oh, you got to watch Saturday Night Live. You got to watch Saturday Night Live. It's so edgy. It's so cool. It's, oh my God, it's avant-garde. You're like, you're not living unless you watch Saturday Night Live. So I would tune in once in a while, and I'm looking around the living room and I'm like, am I the only one? This is not that funny. Like even then in their so-called prime in the 1980s. I mean, you're right. Sometimes they had a few hits. You know, a couple things were funny, but for the most part, I'm like, this is really, like, am I the only one? I don't find him that funny. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, I want to continue to take your calls, obviously, but let me throw a big log on the fire because it goes right to the heart of what we're talking about, which is the elites of our country, whether it be Hollywood elites, cultural elites, or in this case, media elites, and how their hatred for Trump, J.D. Vance, and the Trump team has now driven them to the point of absolute insanity. Dangerous insanity. And so, as many of you know, J.D. Vance was in Europe last week. In Munich, Germany, for the Munich Security Conference, in which he told them to their collective faces, all of these EU globalist elites, from the Chancellor of Germany, to the leaders of France, to the leaders of the entire European Union, as they looked on in absolute shock and horror. And J.D. Vance gave them example after example after example that they were censoring freedom of speech, that they were censoring dissent, that people just for mocking politicians in Germany, just making fun of politicians, for example, calling them idiots, were being fined 5, 6, 7, 8,000 euros, police raiding their homes, confiscating their iPhones or their laptops, In some cases, literally being thrown into prison. And J.D. Vance saying, you no longer adhere to the same values that we do here in America, of democracy, of liberty, of freedom of speech, of freedom of expression. To a stunned room, he told them right to their faces, these are, quote, anti-democratic Soviet practices that you are now doing here in Europe because of your fear of conservatives, your fear of populists, your fear of anti-globalists, your fear of movements that threaten you and your power. And for this, in the name of democracy, you're abandoning democracy. In the name of democracy, you are destroying and dismantling democracy. And in particular, he talked about the Alternative for Germany, AfD, Deutschland. Alternative for Deutschland, AfD. A conservative populist party that is now number 2 in the polls. Backed, by the way, by Elon Musk. And all they're calling for is to secure Germany's borders against unlimited third world immigration, to cut taxes, to stop excessive regulations, to make Germany energy independent again. In other words, what is considered common sense. And for this, they are being vilified by every political party, almost every media outlet in Deutschland, in Germany, by social media, the tech tyrants, the tech titans, as neo-Nazis, radical far-right extremists. In other words, freedom equals fascism. This is the sickness that is now not just in Germany, but all across Europe. And so J.D. Vance said, I'm sorry, but democracy doesn't mean just listening to the ideas that you believe in or you accept or you agree with, but also ideas that you disagree with, and to political parties that threaten your rule and your power. They went berserk. There's no other way to put it. The Germans lost their minds. The French lost their minds. The Brits lost their minds. The EU globalist elites, were denouncing Vance, vilifying Vance. They wanted to throw him out of Europe. They said this was a scandal, an abomination, that Vance was defending, listen to this, Adolf Hitler. And so, on Sunday, on what Rush used to call disgrace the nation, okay, face the nation, disgrace the nation. Rush was completely right. It is disgrace the nation. Margaret Brennan, and I don't know if she's stupid or if she's ignorant or if she's both, but it doesn't matter. She had Secretary of State Marco Rubio on, and she denounced and attacked J.D. Vance's speech in Munich, saying, listen now to this. Free speech led to the Holocaust. That the Nazis weaponized, her words, free speech. And that's what led to Nazism, and that's what led to 6 million dead Jews. Unbelievably, now the left and the media are trying to argue. Freedom is fascism. Freedom of speech equals and causes the Holocaust. Roll cut 13, Mike.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
He's completely right. He's completely right. What they're trying now to argue, this is a very dangerous argument, is that freedom is dangerous. Free speech is dangerous. Why? It's Hitler, it's reductio ad Hitlerum, instead of reductio ad absurdum. In other words, everything leads to Hitler. Everything leads to Hitler. So, according now to this warped view, if you allow freedom of speech, you're gonna have Nazism. It's gonna be Hitler. And then 6 million more dead Jews. Or people with disabilities now. Or brown people. Or black people. Or everybody's gonna be rounded up into death camps. And look, as Marco Rubio pointed out, and I thought he was very gentle with her. I would have taken her head off, frankly. Intellectually, I would have just decapitated her. I would have said, look, Margaret, with all due respect, I don't know if you're too stupid to know this or too ignorant or too willfully ignorant. Free speech led to the Holocaust? Are you insane? There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. Free speech was banned. The opposition was banned. Dissenters were either jailed or sent to death camps. What are you talking about? The Nazis now practice free speech? Are you normal? So this is what you're trying to tell me now. And this is exactly their argument. Look, it's like the same cul-de-sac over and over again. It's the same point over and over again. Trump equals Hitler. Populism equals Hitler. Nationalism equals Hitler. Conservatism equals Hitler. So, if Germany votes for a populist party, the Alternative for Deutschland, the Alternative for Germany, AfD, in other words, they believe in secure borders, low taxes, and cheap energy. Okay, fossil fuel energy. This is Adolf Hitler? No, it was a genocidal regime. That's what the Nazis were from their inception. That called for the annihilation of the Jews, and by the way, the disabled, and by the way, the gypsies, as they were called, the Roma, and the Slavs, and they called for a great German empire that would conquer most of Europe, and they wanted what was called Lebensraum, living space, especially in Eastern Europe. They wanted territories and colonies under the Reich. What the hell does this have to do with Donald Trump? Nothing. What does this have to do with the Alternative for Germany, the Alternative for Deutschland? Nothing. Or populist parties in France, or Giorgia Meloni in Italy. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. Okay, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. I can't believe I have to ask this question, but this is now where we are. This is how far liberalism has fallen. Is CBS's Margaret Brennan. Remember, she's the host of, Disgrace the Nation. Okay, Face the Nation. She's a very influential, powerful player in the so-called establishment media. Okay, the so-called mainstream media, quote unquote. The state-run media. Is CBS's Margaret Brennan right when she says free speech caused the Holocaust? That's what Margaret Brennan is arguing. That's what many in the media in this country and in the European Union are arguing. This is why EU elites now say you need censorship. Because if you let people have free speech, it's gonna lead to Nazism and Hitler all over again. So you have to censor people. You have to jail people for their opinions. You have to fine them. You have to confiscate their laptops and their phones. They need to be canceled. And as I said, in some cases, literally imprisoned. And J.D. Vance delivered a clarion call in Munich last week saying, my God, what are you Europeans doing? Free speech is being betrayed right in front of our eyes. The enemy is not China. The enemy is not Russia. The enemy is within. It is you. You who are pushing now an intolerant, illiberal, and growing authoritarian regime. In the name of democracy, you are destroying democracy. So, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, as I said, sponsored by Mario's. Is Margaret Brennan right when she says free speech caused the Holocaust? A, yes. B, no. You know where I stand. This woman is stupid. This woman is ignorant. This woman is an absolute woke moron, as I said on X last night. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. As I said, I'm very active on Twitter. You can vote there as well. My handle, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER. Dan in North Andover. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Jeff, my brother from another mother.
Dan,
how are you, buddy?
I'm very good. How are you, my friend?
Good. So similar to what you went through, I lost my father last week and been very busy with that, so that's why you haven't heard from me for a while.
I'm very sorry.
But,
I am my deepest condolences, Dan. I'm very sorry.
Thank you. He's in a better place. So how about little Marco? His response to that crackhead Brennan. Little Marco's all grown up, Jeff.
Little Marco is becoming big Marco, Dan.
He's all grown up. Let's go back. Let's go back to what we were talking about earlier this morning with the Tom Hanks skit. Jeff, as much as I love you, I got to disagree with you. That skit's like 7 years old, right? If you watch that full skit, it comes back around to show how much in common the MAGA people have with black Americans. That skit, watch that whole skit, Jeff. You will laugh and you'll see it. But, I'm no Tom Hanks fan for what his personal life is. He's made some great movies over the years. But, for what his personal life is, I'm no fan of Tom Hanks. But if you watch that skit in full, that is one of the funniest skits that Saturday Night Live's done in the last 10 years.
I think, Dan, what you're saying is that like MAGA people tend to be more religious. They go to church, and the black host is also religious, and he likes the fact that the Doug character goes to church. Is that what you're saying? Basically, in other words, what they're really trying to say is MAGA and African Americans have much more in common than people think, correct?
Exactly. And, common sense stuff, right? So they're talking at one point that, he's got a buddy of his that can fix his car for $50 and fix his refrigerator for $25. Don't go to the car dealer, right? And they all, we agree, because, the man's trying to rip us off. And it was pretty funny. It was like, wow. Obviously, and I tell this to people all the time, Jeff, my liberal friends local here, that there's the East Coast and the West Coast. And everywhere in the middle, everybody goes to church on Sunday, and everybody watches NASCAR on Saturday. And people in Boston and people in New York and people in L.A. will never understand that.
Well, Dan, just to reinforce and underline what you're saying, I mean, did you see Trump at the Daytona 500 with the Beast? And the incredible reception he got from the crowd, the NASCAR crowd? And how he went around the track a few times with, leading them with the Beast, and the crowd just going absolutely nuts. I mean, they love him. The Heartland, Middle America, Dan, they love him, love him, love him. Well, what say you, Dan?
Absolutely. 150,000 people at Daytona. I know people that were at Daytona that are liberal that said it was awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah, 150,000 cheering fans. Like, I remember I called you one night, 3:00 in the morning from Las Vegas to tell you about, seeing Trump in Vegas just before the election and the people that came out. But, what's amazing was the young people, Jeff, the people in their 20s have come out for Trump in just huge numbers. And you're not going to see it in Cambridge, but, get west of Worcester and you'll see it.
Dan, thank you very, very much for that call, as always. And again, my condolences on your father passing away. God bless you, Dan, and may God bless him. 617-266-6868. Look, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it bears repeating. The CNN is shocked. CBS News, they did one of their typical polls, oversampling Democrats, even with oversampling Democrats. Trump now is over 70% approval rating. Sky high. They haven't seen anything like this since Ronald Reagan. The guy's approval numbers are through the roof. They're stunned. It's shock and awe. The CNN, MSNBC, I could run down. They're playing these poll numbers and they're like, what do you have to say? And they're like, obviously the Hitler dictator message, it's not popping. It's not resonating. As I like to say, it no work. It no work. So you think I love Trump in a non-sexual way. The country is starting to love Trump in a non-sexual way. And really, even Trump's inner circle are saying there's something going on. Yes, Trump was popular in his first term, no question. But they're saying we can sense it. He's even more popular now in his second term than he ever was in his first term. So there's something going on in the country. Look, I said this before. Let me just quickly say it again. I went to see my doctor maybe 2 weeks now. Like, don't quote me on this. 10 days ago, whatever it was. Time just goes by so quick. Anyway, recently, okay, let's say 10 days to 2 weeks ago. A liberal, okay, dyed-in-the-wool liberal, voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, voted for Biden in 2020, voted for Kamala in 2024. And, I don't say a word to him. I say, hey, how are you? Blah, blah. He's checking me out. And he just says to me, he goes, I got to tell you, Jeff. I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking it's my health. Like something wrong. I'm the most paranoid hypochondriac on the planet. So I'm thinking, brain cancer, heart attack, heart disease, whatever, elbow cancer, like he's checking everything out. I'm like, am I going to die? He's like, I got to tell you, Jeff, I can't believe how much I agree and support everything that Trump has been doing the first 3 weeks of his presidency. I'm like, really? I mean, this guy couldn't stand Trump. I almost wanted him dead. He goes, on the border, I think he's doing great. The deportations, I agree. Why have we allowed so many MS-13 gangbangers and Trenderawagwa and drug traffickers and human traffickers? He goes, this is insane. And I've allowed them into our country. He's right to deport all of them. He goes, I'm sorry, I have 2 daughters. Why should biological men compete against my girls in sports or expose themselves in the shower or in the locker room or in the bathroom? He's completely right. No, I'm sorry. Why are we paying so much for energy, for gas at the pump? No, a crime is out of control. He's right. We've got to start getting tough on crime and have safe streets again. No, he's right. It's time to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. It's gone on for nearly 3 years. Millions are dead. It's time for peace. So I said, I got to ask him this. I mean, maybe hell really has frozen. Maybe hell is just frozen over. Maybe I'm watching a miracle. I'm going to call the Vatican, because I think my ultra liberal doctor is going to say, he would have voted for Trump if he could do it all over again. So I asked him, I said, doctor, I'm just going to make up a name because people are nasty. And if I have a doctor, they'll target the doctor. So I'm just going to make up a name, Smith. Dr. Smith, I'm just curious. If you knew then what you know now, how Trump would govern in his first 3-4 weeks, would you have voted for him in November over Kamala? He didn't hesitate. Without hesitation, he goes, oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. He goes, I would have voted for him, no question. He goes, honestly, I feel stupid. He goes, I'm starting to look back now on everything. His first term, the lawfare, how they went after him under Biden. And the more I look at it, the more I'm starting to conclude I think Trump was right on everything. Now, what I said to myself walking out, I said, if he's winning over Dr. Smith, who is the embodiment of an elitist Massachusetts liberal, if he's starting to win Dr. Smith over, this guy has 70 to 80% of the country in the palm of his hand. This is a revolution. This is a true revolution now that's taking place. So I agree with Dan completely in North Andover. There's no question. They love him. They love him, and it's now even starting to affect people here in Massachusetts because you can't argue with success. And so far, his presidency has been immensely successful. Personally, beyond my wildest dreams. I knew he'd have a great presidency. I didn't think it was going to be so far this good and this effective. Rebecca in Boston. Thanks for holding, Rebecca, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Rebecca, how are you?
I'm good. I don't think I've talked to you since our president's back, Well, we finally have a president again.
Yes, and we've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as HHS secretary. So we're not just going to make America great again, Rebecca. We're going to make America healthy again. So we're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I am so happy with what Trump's doing and Elon, and it is just so fun and hilarious to watch all these people in Boston and Rhode Island, go out there and say he's a dictator, he's a fascist, As a Jewish person, me and my boyfriend were just talking about this. He's from Israel, and we say this all the time. There is no bigger insult than to call a Jewish person, or to call someone or compare anyone or anything to Hitler or the Nazi regime. These people have lost their minds. Freedom of speech. What happened during COVID? Democrats are they're the suppression. They suppressed speech for years.
Oh, you're dead on. No, Rebecca, look, you know this better than anybody. I'm sure your boyfriend from Israel probably even knows it a little bit more than you because their education system is maybe the best in the world. And they teach their kids about Hitler and Nazis and the Holocaust. The real story, the real Hitler, not this, this caricature that they've created here where everybody is Hitler. If Trump was Hitler, here's what he would have done in his first 3 weeks. Congress burned to the ground. Supreme Court burned to the ground. Every Supreme Court justice shot dead. Every member of Congress shot dead. Every journalist imprisoned or sent off to a death camp. He would have declared martial law, banned every political party, suspended the Constitution, suspended the Bill of Rights, and basically you would have millions of people already being rounded up in cattle cars and sent off to death camps. That's Hitler. If Trump was really Hitler, Rebecca, that's what he would have done. Instead, let me tell you what he's doing. Securing the border, deporting violent criminal illegals who have no right to be here, murderers, rapists. He's starting to lower inflation. The economy now is really starting to boom. He wants to end wars like the ones between Russia and Ukraine. Oh, he likes to drill for oil and natural gas to make everything much cheaper at the pump and what you pay in your heating bill. He wants to lower crime. Oh, and he doesn't want biological men competing against women in sports or exposing themselves in female locker rooms and bathrooms. That's, Rebecca, and save us trillions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse through Doge. So to save us money and protect female sports and secure our borders and have peace around the world, end wars. Rebecca, there's your Hitler. There, seriously, there's your Hitler. What say you?
Mention that he's probably the biggest supporter of Israel there ever was, any president. I mean, he loves Israel. And, you know, people are saying Elon loves Israel, too. I mean, these are people that have like so much love and respect for Jewish people, and they're calling them Hitler.
And just to add to what you're saying, you're completely right. And they love him in Israel. He's got an administration full of Jews. He's got, I mean, I could go, his daughter converted to Judaism. His favorite daughter converted to Judaism. He's got Jewish grandchildren who he plays with, and they're on his knee the whole time. Okay? So he's got Jewish grandkids. He's got a Jewish daughter. He's literally got Jewish best friends. He's got Jews serving in the senior positions in his administration. He loves Israel. He loves Jewish culture, loves Jewish civilization. But no, Rebecca, this guy, he's Hitler. You see, Rebecca, you don't know this, but Hitler loved the Jews now. Like, this is how insane these people sound. Yeah. Oh, Hitler. Hey, when I think Hitler, all this guy did was promote Jewish people. Oh, my God. He kept saying, if only I had Jewish grandchildren. Oh, my God. He loved the Jews. He so loved the Jews. He so admired the Jews. Like, this is how, when I'm talking deranged, insane, that's how these people sound. And I go back to what Elon said, Rebecca. He goes, you talk to these liberals, you just mention Trump, it's like you fire a dart full of meth and rabies. I'm imitating Elon now. Like Hitler. Rebecca, the more insane and unhinged the left becomes, the more stronger and powerful MAGA and Trump is going to be. I don't think they understand. They're setting this up not just for 4 years. They're setting up 8 years for J.D. Vance. Final word to you, Rebecca.
I am so excited that Trump is back, and I don't really care what anyone says about him, but we know he's doing an amazing job, and he is supporting Israel, and, you know, he's doing what he has to do to get this country, to bring this country back to sanity, and these people can do whatever they want in the background, but we're standing strong, so I'm really happy with what's going on right now.
Amen. Amen. Rebecca, please don't be a stranger. Call more often. Call again. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thank you for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure, Dan.
You hit it on the head when you said a revolution. And this has kind of been a revolution where you have the North and the South, and that was physical, that was killing people. This revolution was that of the mind and the brain, and attacking persons' viewpoints, basically splitting their ideas in half, and basically trying to win people over with propaganda. And what's happened is that, you know, we had a common sense revolution where people just didn't like the trans. They didn't like creative race theory. They didn't like everyone coming over the borders with the drugs. We're tired of paying for people that aren't, you know, in our system. We're tired of the gangs. We're tired of all of the things that just make complete sense to the average, everyday person. But you got to realize, because we won the election and we were decisive in doing it, that we rejected them. And by this rejection, they hate us even more, Jeff, because we did not go along with them ideology. We didn't go along with what they wanted to shove down our throats. We basically kicked their ass, and now they're crying over it. And quite honestly, to me, I could never be happier, quite honestly, because
we are going to go into the midterms with this type of mentality that they've got, the fact that they've still got no common sense, that they're still running down the same rabbit holes, that we're going to win decisively. And then, of course, when JD goes for his presidency, if they don't change their philosophy and see what common sense actually is, they're going to lose the election. And they're going to keep on losing until they take their rose-colored glasses off and see what real common sense and reality is.
Well, Dan, I think you really hit the nail on the head. Okay, so this is a very important conversation, my friends, because this is now where we're heading as a civilization. I'm talking about the West in general, Europe in specifically, and if Canada as well, by the way, under Justin Trudeau. And this is what the left and the Democrats in this country want to take us to, which is a regime of censorship, where people are censored for so-called hate speech, or they're censored for misinformation or so-called disinformation. And so J.D. Vance went to Munich Security Conference, and in front of leading Europeans, the top globalists on the continent and in many ways the world, and told them, your democracy is eroding in front of your eyes. You are creating an illiberal regime with these illiberal hate speech laws in which you're trying to justify censorship. And the more you censor, the more freedom of speech is under assault and it is being crushed. And the more you are beginning to resemble the old Soviet Union. Now, they went, to show you how apoplectic they went, the chair of this Munich Security Conference delivered the final speech. Okay, this was over the weekend. He cried. Christoph Huchsen. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Huchsen. I'm not literally started to bawl. He said we're crushing free speech. No, that's not true. No. Like this is what, a 60-year-old man, and he's crying. He's crying because of what J.D. Vance said. That's how brittle, that's how insecure, that's how pathetic these European leaders and these globalists are. Now, the argument that they're trying to make, this is the argument that Margaret Brennan was trying to make on CBS, free speech caused the Holocaust. What the New York Times is trying to argue, what many Democrats are trying to argue, what these EU elites and leftists are trying to argue, is that, had they just censored more, had they just suppressed the Nazis more, then, Hitler never would have came to power and there would have been no Holocaust. Now, as I pointed out, Hitler never weaponized free speech. There was no free speech under Hitler. He banned free speech. He banned all political opposition. He jailed, imprisoned, or sent off to death camps dissenters. Anybody that opposed his regime or criticized the regime. So there was no free speech to weaponize because there was no free speech. By the way, even under Weimar, they had strict censorship laws. Do you know how many times Hitler was jailed for his speech? Joseph Goebbels for anti-Semitism? The editors of the Nazi newspaper, Der Stürmer? So this idea that leading Nazis were not censored under Weimar is a lie. And what do you think censorship did? You think it cracked down on anti-Semitism? No. It made Hitler and his supporters martyrs. It empowered them. It strengthened them. Because the argument they would make is, what are they so afraid of Hitler? Why won't they let Hitler speak? But leave that alone, okay? This is historically illiterate and frankly stupid. Let's go to Germany today. Just Germany, okay? I'm going to use Germany as the example because JD delivered his speech in Germany. This weekend, right after JD Vance's speech, which the Europeans said, oh, it's intolerable. How dare, it was insulting. Okay. Police raided in Germany 50 homes in a single day this weekend to punish so-called speech crimes. Punishments. They fine you thousands of dollars. They jail you. They confiscate your phones and laptops. And do you know what they went after people for? Some, yeah, they made some racist comments or whatever, which is disgusting, but you don't jail somebody for that. That's not free speech. One person called a politician in the city of Hamburg, "You are such the male genital," okay? There may be kids in the car, so I don't want to make parents uncomfortable. So you are such the clinical term for the male genital, okay? You're such a P. For this, they raided the person's home and took their electronic devices. Germany's Vice Chancellor, Robert Habeck, has filed over 700 complaints to police over so-called hate speech. In one instance, this is what they're raiding homes over. An elderly pensioner was fined 7,800 euros for calling Habeck a complete idiot. That's it. That was his crime. He called him a complete idiot. For this, he was censored. This person's home was raided by police. They handcuffed him. They booked him. This is an elderly person on on limited means, on a fixed income, on a pension. And they hit him with a 7,800 euro fine. Basically about $8,000. For calling a politician a complete idiot, who, by the way, probably is a complete idiot. Now, what does this have to do with preventing another Holocaust? What does this have to do with preventing another Hitler? Okay, coming up at 8:50. You don't want to miss it. Just 18 minutes from now, you are not going to believe the latest scandal that Doge has unearthed and uncovered. It is going to blow your mind. You're saying, Jeff, but that's what you said the last segment, on Friday. And I'm saying, I know, every time we talk about Doge, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This one, it is the biggest scandal so far. So trust me when I tell you this, you're going to want to hear it at 8:50. But first, 617-266-6868. Look, let me put this on the table. I think J.D. Vance was 1,000% correct. Germany, like most countries now in Europe, with a few exceptions, is now an authoritarian country. It is no longer a democracy. I know we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have hate speech laws on the books, as they do in many European countries, Germany being one of the big models for this, and ordinary Germans are being literally thrown in jail, again, this is the land of Hitler. You think they'd be sensitive about stuff like this. But if you're fining people thousands and thousands of dollars, or you're confiscating their laptops and their cell phones, or you're literally putting them behind bars because they're mocking politicians, satirizing politicians, calling politicians names like, you're a complete idiot. I'm sorry. Don't blame the messenger. Elon is right. The threat is from within. The threat is not from without. Forget Russia. Forget China. The real threat is the Europeans, or at least to be more accurate, the European elites, the European left, no longer believes in freedom of speech, in freedom of expression, and frankly, in liberty. They have abandoned democracy. And increasingly now they are embracing a woke left-wing authoritarianism that calls for censorship and imprisoning and jailing political opponents or political parties. Now that the alternative for Germany, this is going to be a huge election in a few days. We'll see how the AfD does. It is a populist party. Very much, Elon has supported it all the way, backed it. Very similar to Nigel Farage's party in Britain, or Marine Le Pen in France, or Giorgia Meloni, who runs Italy. Of these sort of, Trump-style, MAGA-style, populist, nationalist, patriotic parties. Anti-globalist parties. If they do as well as they are poised to do in the elections, the German political class, the establishment says they're going to ban the AfD altogether. So they may ban the most popular party in Germany because that's how much they fear the return of secure borders and patriotism to Deutschland. Now, if that's not an abandonment of democracy, honest to God, I don't know what is. So they're calling Trump the dictator, Trump the Hitler, and as J.D. Vance pointed out, we're not the one censoring. You are. We're not the one banning political parties. You are. We're not the one jailing people for daring to criticize the establishment or to criticize the elites or criticizing the official narratives in Europe. You're the ones that are jailing dissenters and people who disagree. And you're doing it all in the name of quote-unquote democracy. That's not democracy. That's dictatorship. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Nick in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Nick.
Nice to meet you, man. Thank you for your service. Just a quick point. I won't keep you too long. What would Mr. Hanks or anybody else in his corner refer to the 45% of Hispanics and black people who also voted for Trump? What would he refer to them as? That's my question.
Well, Nick, the way they're being referred to is as Uncle Toms, as people who've betrayed their race, as race traitors. That's how they're being vilified by the left. And by the way, this is coming from white, privileged, liberal elites. So white liberals are telling black people they hate their race or they hate their skin color because they dare to vote for Trump, or Latinos, or Asians, or you can run down the whole list. So it's an arrogant argument. It's a deeply condescending argument. And it's a profoundly racist argument. What they're telling, Nick, which when it really boils down to, this is what white liberals are now telling people, African American or Latino or whatever, okay? Any so-called quote unquote minority. The color of your skin should dictate your politics. And so if you happen to be a Latino, you must vote for the Democratic Party. If you happen to be black, you must vote for the Democratic Party. If you're Asian, you must vote for the Democratic Party. If you're Jewish, you must vote for the Democratic Party. You're not a free person who can think about, what's best for their interests and their family's interests and their values. No. You must stay on the Democratic plantation. And if you dare to get off that Democratic plantation, then they will smear you in the nastiest way imaginable. And I don't think white liberals quite grasp how offensive, how insulting, honestly, how totalitarian this is. For you to tell me, because of my, my skin color, because of my ethnic makeup, I can only think one way. I can only believe in one thing. I can only vote for one party. That to me is, I've never heard something so frankly anti-freedom and anti-human. Blacks know their self-interest. They're not stupid. Latinos know their self-interest. They're not stupid. So instead of saying, maybe we blew it under Biden and Obama, maybe we've become so extreme, so far out of the mainstream that people can't stand us anymore? No. They're not doubling down, they're tripling down. And so, honestly, Nick, I'm an old school guy when it comes to politics. When you see your enemy lighting themselves on fire and committing political suicide right in front of your eyes, you just stand back and let them. So, if this is what the Democrats want to do, if this is what Hollywood wants to do, you want to continue to insult Trump supporters and especially minority Trump supporters and Trump voters, go ahead. Because I'm telling you, the next time, it's not going to be 45%, it's going to be 50%. And then after that, it's going to be 60%. And then it's going to be 70%. They are going to consign themselves to the political wilderness for a generation to come. So, and Nick, if they want to double down on stupid and insane, let them double down on stupid and insane. To me, I'm like, okay, hey, you want to jump off that proverbial bridge? Jump off the bridge. I don't know what to tell you, liberals. Final word to you, Nick.
Biden said a few years back when he was running, you're not black if you don't vote for me. What kind of a thing is that to say to people? You know?
Well, just flip it, Nick. What if I said you're not white if you don't vote for Trump?
I know it. It's
right?
Insane. It
right?
really
You know
is.
how offensive that is? Really, I could say, what if you're not Jewish if you don't vote for Trump? You're not Latino if you don't vote for Trump. Can you? I mean, if I said that, I'd be off the air. First of all, I'd be laughed off the air, but I'd be taken off the air. You're a stone cold racist. Joe Biden is a stone cold racist. The Democrats are stone cold racists. And Nick, this is what many especially black males and Latinos, this is what's starting to dawn on them. It's like their eyes have now been opened. And they're like, oh, they just play the race card to control us. They don't care about us. They just play the race card so we continue to vote for them and keep them in power. Now their eyes have been opened. And Nick, I'm telling you, once someone's eyes have been opened, there's no going back. There's no going back. My prediction, Nick, I can't, I don't have a crystal ball, but the way, if I'm just judging it by today, that's all I can do is judge everything by today. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you know what? I'm going to get to, obviously, the big new scandal that has now been unearthed by Elon and his team at Doge. But before I do, just 30 seconds, I want to ask you, this great audience. We're almost doing a couple segments every day on the latest outrage being discovered by Elon Musk, by Trump, by Doge, of, disgusting, obscene waste, fraud, and abuse. Whether it's USAID, whether it's the Treasury Department, whether it's Medicare and Medicaid, whether it's Social Security, and now they're going to start looking into the Pentagon. And so I'm almost thinking, at least for a while, to make it almost like a daily segment, maybe one segment every show. Like, here's your latest on Doge, whatever. And, we do 10 minutes on it or whatever. Is that something you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, would be interested in? Is that something you would like me to do? And if you can't hear it at a particular time, for time reasons, you can obviously access it on the podcast. So it's there for you every single day. You'll know the latest scandal, the latest revelations, the latest outrage, what they have found out, because there's no question now. The scale of the fraud is so massive. It is so historic. It is so frankly egregious. This is the greatest. I'm telling you, this is the greatest scandal in our history. It's clearly the greatest scandal of our time. But if it's not the greatest, it's certainly one of the greatest. And if anyone tells you that everybody knew or you knew the scale of this kind of fraud, they're not being honest with you. They're lying to you. Nobody thought it was at this level. and this massive and this rampant and this reckless and this irresponsible. No one. Absolutely no one. So what I'd like to do is this, to get a measure of the temperature of the audience, whether you want me to do a daily segment or not. If you want me to, I'm more than happy to. If not, I understand. Email the Kuhner man, Jeffrey Kuhner at iHeartMedia.com. Jeffrey Kuhner, Jeffrey Kuhn, N as in national, ER. Jeffrey Kuhner at iHeartMedia, all one word, .com. And tell me if you want me to do a daily segment, or if you prefer, message me on Messenger. And this way I can really get a sense of the audience and whether you want me to do a daily segment. Again, I'm happy to do it if you want me to do it. If not, no harm, no foul. Now, here is the absolute latest, and this is what I mean now. It's almost, I said this to Sandy. I said, Sandy, Doge is becoming such a massive scandal. You could almost do everyday show on it. I mean, every day you can do a show on it. So, but anyway, here it is. Over the weekend, Elon Musk discovered an incredible finding. So, I want you to listen now to this, because this is a mind bender. I'm talking jaw-dropping, truly mind-boggling. According to Elon and his Doge team, over 25 million Americans, let me repeat that, over 25 million Americans are registered in the U.S. Social Security database, are 100 years old and older. So, of Americans registered, receiving Social Security benefits, registered in the Social Security database, 25, in fact, just over 25 million are 100 years old and older. And there are some, I swear to you, that are older than the U.S. Constitution itself. They're older than our nation is. George Washington, this is a miracle. Somebody, again, call the Vatican. We have a miracle. George Washington is apparently collecting Social Security. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Hamilton, they're still collecting Social Security. That's the historic level, the obscene scale of fraud that Elon, this is a staggering statistic that Elon tweeted out. And so here is exactly what he wrote. According to the Social Security, it's incredible. According to the Social Security database, this is Elon Musk. These are the numbers of people in each age bucket with the death field set to false. Maybe Twilight is real, and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security. So, here it is, okay? I'm going to get to age 100. I'm not going to get into all the people collecting Social Security or registered in Social Security. So, ages 100 to 109. 4,734,000. It's actually 407, but I'm just going to round it off for simplicity's sake. So, ages 100 to 109. 4,734,000 in the Social Security database. Ages 110 to 119. 3.6 million registered in Social Security. We've discovered the fountain of youth. This country, Mike, it's a miracle, buddy. Millions of people are living to 120, 130, 140, 150. Look at this. So, age 120 to 129, 3.4 million. If you want 3,472,849, I'm just rounding it off to make it simpler. 3.4 million, 120 years old to 129 years old. Listen to this. 130 years old to 139 years old. 3.9 million, almost 4 million. Listen to this. Age 140, either you laugh or you cry. Age 140 to 149, 3.5 million. Age 150 to 159, 1.3 million. Then it starts to taper off. If age 160 to 169 years old, 121,000. Age 170 to 179, 6,000, like 6,087, but I'm just rounding it off. Age 180 to 189, 700. Age 190 to 199, 448, 450. Age 200 to 209, 880. So they're over 200 years old. There's almost 900 people 200 years old. Age 210 to 219, 866 people. What the hell, 870. Age 220 to 230. So now we're starting to approach the Constitution now. 1,039. Age 240 to 249, 1. They got one person, listen to this. Age 360 to 369. That we're talking Mayflower. What is it, Winthrop? Jonathan Winthrop? We got him. He's still alive. He's collecting Social Security. They got one. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. So, by the way, just so that you know, the oldest person in American history was 119 years old. Okay, some poor woman made it to 119. God bless her. The oldest person living in America right now is 114 years old. There are only 35 known people in the world, who are 112 years old or older. The oldest American, there's one, 114. And this person died in 1999, but this person that died in 1999 was 119 years old. So this is the shocking scale of abuse. This is, now, you want to talk about an abuse of a taxpayer-funded program. And to all of you on Social Security, or about to get on Social Security, if I were you, I'd be mad as hell. Look at the waste. Look at the fraud. Look at the abuse. Look at the drain on the system. Thank the Lord for Elon. Thank the Lord for this. Now you know why Social Security is on the verge of going broke. Dead people are collecting checks. Dead people 120 years old, 130 years old, 150 years old, 200 years old, 250 years old are collecting freaking George Washington, in theory, is collecting a check. And you're telling me we're not getting royally ripped off? Now, let me throw in one more. Again, I could do a whole show on Doge every day. Here's your daily update. Okay, listen to this, what Elon found. This broke yesterday. I reported on it on my X account, on my X handle, at the Kuhner Report. One word, K-U-H, N as in national, E-R. Elon and Doge have now identified $4.7 trillion. Yes, $4.7 trillion, not billion, trillion that the Treasury Department has sent out in blank payments. Literally, blank payments. They don't know where the money went. They don't know what it was sent for. There was no code whatsoever. Was it sent for the military? Was it sent for education? Was it sent for healthcare? Was it sent for first responders? Was it sent for roads? Was it sent for infrastructure? There's got to be a code. Like, that's basic accounting. Nothing. It's completely blank. It's nothing. As Elon said, the money's utterly untraceable. We can't trace the money. It's gone. The money is gone. And the Treasury Department has no idea now how to find out where the money went and who the money went to. $4.7 trillion. They're robbing us blind. This is highway robbery. Now you know why, as I said on X, now you know why the Democrats are squealing like pigs. The establishment squealing like pigs. The media in complete meltdown mode over Elon Musk. He's getting access to the Treasury Department payments. This is a violation of people's personal information and data. And as Elon said, and I'm going to clean it up because he used a little bit of crude language and I don't want to get fined. He said, look, if I wanted to play around with this excrement, I'm cleaning up his language. He goes, PayPal. I could have gone through PayPal. What's wrong with you? I could get access to everybody's personal information if I wanted to. You think I need to use Doge? Are you people that stupid? As he put it, $4.7 trillion is missing. Over 25 million Americans are registered in Social Security and collecting benefits. They're over 100 years old or older. He says, if this is not the mother of all scandals, I don't know what is. And you're crying about Elon, and now you're supposed concern for personal information? No. What they're crying about, what they're petrified about, is that the gravy train is going to end. That their corruption is being unearthed, uncovered, and unmasked. And I'll bet you the best steak at the steakhouse of your choice. And I'm telling you, don't take me up on this bet because you're going to lose your shirt. I'm going to eat you out of house and home. So don't do it. Trust me. Okay? Trust me. That money has been flowing to politicians, their children, non-governmental organizations, the media, Hollywood, you name it. You name it. They have been drowning in this money. And that's why now they're doing everything in their power to destroy Elon and turn him into public enemy number one. Now, I don't care how you slice it. 25 million Americans, we've discovered the fountain of youth. It's a miracle. I never knew this country had so many people over the age of 100. Hell, I never knew we had so many people over the age of 130, 140, 150 years old. Hey, what are they drinking? Because whatever they're doing, that's what I want to do. So please, somebody tell me, whatever they're smoking, whatever they're drinking, I'm going to smoke and I'm going to drink. But something tells me those are fraudulent checks going to fraudulent people. They're going to bankrupt Social Security. They're going to bankrupt Medicare. They're going to bankrupt Medicaid. They're going to bankrupt our government. And I'm telling you, Trump won this election. It was the hand of God. And what Elon Musk is now discovering is the hand of God. Now, in another society, take Japan. If it was found out that the Japanese government had spent $4.7 trillion with a T, blank, The money is gone. This is Ukraine. What Ukraine? This is worse than Ukraine. Even in Ukraine, they don't steal like this. As they say in Eastern Europe, take, but not so much. Like, for God's sake, leave a little something for the schools, the kids, the hospitals, the roads, the fire departments, the police departments. Like, come on. Don't plunder. Don't loot. Don't rape. Now you know why they've turned Elon into Hitler. And now you know why they keep trying to turn Trump into Hitler. It's not because they're Hitler. They know they're not It's because they're following the money. 617-266-6868. One last very quick point. So far, Doge, just in the fraud. Now remember, they're just exposing this. They haven't done anything yet. But so far, the contracts that they've repealed or rescinded, some of the employees that they've managed to let go, some of the actual waste and fraud that they've managed to successfully cut, Doge up to now has saved the taxpayer $55 billion. And when I mean the tip of the iceberg, that's barely scratching the surface. 55 billion like this, snap of a finger. Elon is telling Trump is telling the country, $1 to $2 trillion we're going to get rid of in waste and fraud and abuse right off the top. 1 to 2 trillion. That's our budget deficit right there. That's how much they've been stealing. Now, doesn't everything begin to make sense? All this money we've been pouring for decades. The roads never get better. Have you noticed that? The infrastructure never gets better. The bridges never get better. The hospitals, the healthcare never gets better. The education system never gets better. The military never gets better. I could just go on, literally on and on and on. All this money that we keep spending. And we're like, but nothing seems to get better. And now we're 36, almost $37 trillion in debt. Well, now we know. Now, how come I never got one of these Social Security checks? How come I never got one of these blank payments? How come I didn't just suddenly get a $2 million check from the Treasury Department? I'm like, what the hell's this? Whoa, I just got $2 million. What the hell? How come I never get one of those checks? Tony in Florida. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, my fellow patriot.
Tony, let me ask you an honest question.
Yes.
Did you think 25 million Americans were registered on the Social Security database, age 100 and older? Did you think it was that? Tony, honestly, did you think it was that bad? 25 million, Tony.
Unbelievable, Jeff. And you hit the nail on the head a minute ago when you said it's the Washington swamp creatures and all these elites that are collecting all that money, like Pelosi, for example, building mansions and watching the inside trading and all that. I mean, these people are as corrupt to the core. And wait till Pam Bondi jumps in, Jeff, and reveals it and goes after them, too, because she's waiting in the batter's box, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And Kash Patel. I can't wait for Kash Patel to be confirmed, because that's when people are going to start going to jail, Tony.
Oh, yeah, Jeff, I have to tell you this. So I was at the Daytona 500 on Sunday, and oh, my gosh, I have to tell you the story. So it was unbelievable. I mean, what an atmosphere. You know, MAGA hats, Trump shirts. I mean, it was amazing. And so, you know, of course, the Secret Service checked everybody in and everything. It was incredible, the atmosphere. You know, it was like a lockdown. It was very safe, you know. And so we're in the stands, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, on the horizon, here it comes, Air Force One, Jeff. He did the flyby to begin, and, you know, he gave a little tip of the wing to everybody. The place went crazy. I'm just getting my voice back today. The place went crazy, and then he landed. The airport is...
That's the swamp. That's the government to you and me, my friends. Blank you. 25 million, or just over 25 million Americans are in the that are over 100 years old. 100 years old and older are in the United States Social Security database. Millions of people, 120, 130, 140, even 150 years old, they're still collecting checks. That you and I, we're paying for all this. And 4.7 trillion, this is the ultimate, blank you. This is the ultimate middle finger. $4.7 trillion, it's gone. Blank payments, they don't know where the money went. It just disappeared, and they don't know how to find it. All right, let's go back to Tony. But no, Elon, the one who, Elon and Doge who've discovered all this, they're the dangerous ones. Hey, whoa, those are extremists, Jeff. Jeff, this is a dictatorship. Yeah, okay. Tony in Florida. Let's go right back to Tony. So you're at the Daytona 500, Tony. You said the crowd went wild for Trump. He came in on Air Force One, tipped his wing, and then we had to go to break. Please pick up where you left off, Tony.
Yes, Jeff. So he came over the horizon, and he Air Force One. It's just so amazing. He tipped the wing, just to say hello. The place went absolutely crazy. I mean, MAGA hats, Trump shirts, and if you can picture it, Jeff, the airport is next to the racetrack here. So basically, what it is that you have a 2.5 mile racetrack, and there's like a road in between the airport and the racetrack, and so in between turns 3 and 4 of the racetrack, there's a big gate. So after the plane landed, of course everyone's watching the plane land going crazy. He gets in the motorcade, he gets in the Beast, and they open basically the wall. Part of the racetrack has like a big gate, so they open the gate of the racetrack on the back stretch, and he just comes driving through with the motorcade inside the Beast. And what do they start on the loudspeakers? As loud as you could possibly hear it, they played "Hail to the Chief." The place went crazy. I mean, and it went on for many minutes. They played the whole song over and over. He gets into the infield, right up, near the pit road, and pulls up the Beast, and he gets out of there with and he had Eric and Lara with him, but he got out hand in hand with his granddaughter, and it was just a magical thing, And then they announced him, and it was just incredible. And then of course the national anthem, he's saluting and he's there, and it was just an incredible moment. And after the national anthem, Jeff, the Thunderbirds came screaming across the sky. And it was incredible. And not only did they do that, but after the national anthem, they all flew over. They put on an air show. At the same time, Trump got back into the Beast, and they paced the field, to start the race. They to organize the field, and he came driving around the racetrack. The Thunderbirds are putting on an air show. I mean, the atmosphere was just, it was electric. You felt the strength of President Trump that he's bringing to the table. America is back. This is the golden age, and I'm telling you, Jeff, it's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week administration, and I'm telling you something, we are back. This country's back, and what a show of strength on Sunday, Jeff. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
Well, that's what I read. I saw pictures as well. I was laughing when I saw him going around the track, and all the other race cars are following him in the Beast. And I'm like, I said, boy, I wish I was there. And everybody looked like they were just having just a phenomenal time. And look, you're right, Tony. The country's back. America's back. Trump is back. We're back. And this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. Tony, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. David in Boston. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Hey, Tom Hanky Panky Hanks hasn't been paying attention, Jeff. He doesn't realize that Hollywood is no longer Hollywood, Jeff. Hollywood has been reduced to firewood, okay? It was the pedophile capital of the world, And we have a very, very loving God, but he can only tolerate so much. And it's the pedophile capital of the world, and a lot of those Hollywood, so-called Hollywood stars, I call them fallen stars, are all videotaped, doing all kinds of perverted acts on underage children. And many of these children are lost. It's well known in the patriot community that there's millions of children that are missing. There's millions of children that are missing.
Well, and especially under Biden. No, David, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And how many hundreds of thousands of children were trafficked into our country under Joe Biden? I mean, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Look, release the Epstein list. I want to know who's on the Epstein list. I think the country needs to know. And again, it's widely rumored Tom Hanks is on that list and many others. And I think you're going to see some of the biggest names in Hollywood are on that list. And I think that's a major reason why they're trying to do everything in their power to destroy Trump. Because they have to cover their tracks. 9:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, latest outrage. The scandals that Doge and Elon, obviously, keep uncovering just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So now, as I mentioned about maybe 45 minutes ago, the latest absolute obscene scandal, misuse of our money, waste, fraud, and abuse. Over 25 million Americans registered in the Social Security database are 100 years old and older. Millions are 110, millions are 120, millions are 130. You even have millions of 150 years old. Millions and millions of people who are, again, there's, I think, 35 people around the world, the whole world, that are over 112 years old. The oldest person living in America, one, is 114. Well, they found over 25 million of them. Somehow collecting Social Security or getting Social Security benefits. And to add insult to injury, the Treasury Department now, under Doge, has now admitted $4.7 trillion in blank payments issued by the Treasury Department. They don't know where the money went. They don't know who got the money. It's gone. It has disappeared. And they have no idea now how to track it. They can't find it, and we may never find it. So the question that many of you are asking rightly is, where the hell did the money go? And who's collecting these checks? Who's cashing these checks? This is from 617. Jeff, how many of these Social Security checks went back to the old country, how many went back to the old country, died, and their families never reported it? And maybe that explains all of these people in the Social Security database system. Well, I think, to be honest, that's where I think illegal immigration is going to play a big role. That's my suspicion. I think they put a ton of illegals on Social Security, that this scam has been going on now for decades and decades and decades. And they just said, to hell with it. My money goes further in Croatia or Ukraine or Guatemala or the Dominican Republic or, China, or take your pick, because they're coming in from all over the world. So we just go back to the old country, and obviously the person never dies. They just keep, the checks just keep going, even though the person's been dead for 40 years. 617-266-6868. Okay, this is a really good point from Steve on Messenger. Jeff, my father passed away March of 2020. I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. My condolences. Social Security clawed back the transfer as soon as he died. He died on March 10. He died on the 10th. And on the 11th, the bank sent it back. And then, Steve goes on to say, so how did these frauds go on? And the banks knew nothing? Come on. They're obviously in bed with them. Audit all the banks. Steve, I'm with you 1,000%. Now, look, I understand it's Canada, not the United States, but just to reinforce what Steve is saying, as you know, my dad passed away December 27th, just a couple of months ago. I mean, the body wasn't even cold. I mean, I'd make a little joke, but, people would say I'm being disrespectful. I'm not. My dad would find it funny because he liked my humor a lot. But I mean, my dad wasn't even technically dead. I'm like, oh, he's going. What? You're cutting off his Social Security check? Hold on, the guy hasn't croaked yet. Could you wait another 2 minutes? He's on his way out. I mean, the body wasn't even cold. And exactly what Steve said, within 2 days, 36 hours, we got notice that your father passed away. We're going to stop all Social Security payments, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man, they're fast. Oh, are they fast? So to hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying people like my dad, God bless him, boy, they wouldn't let one Social Security check go through after he passed away. Not even half a Social Security check. But if you're scamming the system, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to go to politicians, politicians' families. I guarantee you, NGOs, people who are well connected. You watch who got these transfers, these blank checks from the Treasury Department, and who've been getting all these Social Security goodies coming in for all these years. Anyway, just my opinion. 617-266-6868. This is what Craig messaged me, and I think he's dead on. Jeff, all those 200-year-olds who are collecting Social Security are actually congressmen and congresswomen. I bet they're just funneling the money this way. Craig, I'm telling you, great minds think alike. That's exactly what when I saw that story over the weekend, I said, how much is this going to Pelosi? How much is this going to Elizabeth Warren? Remember, the ones that are screeching and yelling the loudest against Doge, AOC, she's become fabulously wealthy, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on $175,000 a year salary. Elizabeth Warren, fabulously wealthy on a $200,000 a year salary. Those that are yelling and screeching and screaming the loudest. And Elon made the same point. Follow the money to them. Because I'm telling you, checks are going their way that are inexplicable. I guarantee it. Kenny in Florida. Thanks for holding, Kenny, and welcome.
Jeff, it's a pleasure to talk to you again.
My pleasure, Kenny.
And condolences on your father passing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Kenny.
He made a great son.
Thank you.
I'll just touch on the Tom Hanks skit. I'll try not to go too deep on it, but to me, what I saw in there was they were talking about religion and they were talking about racism, and bringing those 2 points up. Now, I'm not sure. I actually saw it, but I didn't go back and watch it, so I can't remember everything. But I believe the Democrats, they've always felt like if they could separate people by their religious beliefs, that it created new voters or made people feel comfortable being Democrats. So if you're a non-believer or some type of secular believer, then you were accepted in the Democrat Party, but you would not be accepted in the Republican Party. But I disagree with that. I think Republicans, we accept everybody also. I don't know who all they accept. Seems like they reject a lot of different people, types of voters. So I wanted to bring up a point just to illustrate my point. That was when John McCain and Sarah Palin were running. I remember Matt Damon, who's very influential in Hollywood, did a little clip asking, he was criticizing Sarah Palin, and he asked, does Sarah Palin still believe that the earth is only 6,000 years old? And if she does, I think we're in trouble, something to that effect. And what he was trying to say is that a lot of religious people that their beliefs have not evolved or can't evolve, and even the church can't evolve or whatever. My church, they happen to bring up that time frame, saying this could be millions of years, with the creation of Earth and all that. Well, that whole subject is it's another whole topic. But the bottom line, I think, if they can make you look ignorant, like you're not open-minded, that's a positive for them. And it makes you also look racist if you're
you nailed it. No, look, Kenny, this is what the skit represents, and it's the secular, elitist, liberal view of conservatives. And honestly, the only bigots are them. It's a completely bigoted view, which is this: if you believe in God or religion, you're primitive. That's the portrait they want to paint. You're primitive. You're superstitious. You're backward. You're not very intelligent. You probably, as Obama said, you cling to your guns and your religion. You're a slob. You maybe have sex with your sister. I mean, that's the portrait that they try to portray, that you're unbelievably ignorant, that you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a homophobic, you're a bigot. Basically, you're scum. That's what they think of most ordinary Americans. Now, if you know anything about science, most scientists worth his or her salt will say there has to be a God. 25 million, over 25 million, supposedly Americans are in the Social Security database, 100 years old or older. Tens of millions, over 110, 120, 130 years old. Who the hell is collecting all these checks? And $4.7 trillion in the Treasury Department in blank payments. They're just checks went flying out the door, $4.7 trillion. And they're like, I don't know. I don't know where the money went. We don't know. It's gone. It's disappeared. And they have no idea where it went. Who the hell got all of this money? 9:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Gardner in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Gardner, and welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the call.
My pleasure,
I just wanted to bring up, you were making a really good point a little bit earlier about J.D. Vance and reminding the Europeans when he was over in Munich about the traditions, the Western traditions of free speech and so on. And I did want to bring up a bit of a problem there when we talk about government labeling people as being bad or doing things for their speech, because J.D. Vance last year was one of the prime sponsors of a federal bill to characterize criticism of the state policies of Israel as anti-Semitism, which it is not. So there's a bit of a problem there, and I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up.
Gardner, my understanding, though, he wouldn't ban it or censor it, right? He just wanted to categorize it as anti-Semitism.
Well, that's beside the point. That gets into another issue. That's, first off, just the Congress doing that, they should have nothing to do with it.
I agree.
So just sentimentally, there's a problem there. But
yes,
second,
I agree.
We then get into the secondary problems, which is that, for me, I teach political philosophy, and I'm opposed to all forms of the state. I'm essentially an anarchist. No political ruler, no human ruler. And so I could literally be labeled anti-Semitic because I'm critical of all states, and not just the Israeli state, But the other portion of it kind of gets a little bit into the weeds of whether or not the federal government actually has a constitutional purview over things like immigration, and it goes into the deportation of people who might be protesting on college campuses, whether or not they can then be labeled as anti-Semitic because they're actually calling for peace, or some of them are actually calling for violence. It really becomes problematic there. And
well,
so
I think,
just
Gardner,
wanted to
look,
make sure
I
that
think where you and I completely agree is that the government has no business policing speech. It has no business categorizing speech. It has no business labeling speech. That's not what our founding fathers intended. That's not what it is to live in a free society with limited government based on our Constitution, on individual rights and the rule of law. People in a free society should be able to express themselves as they wish. And the antidote to bad speech is good speech. I've always said that. And to be honest, Gardner, I mean, you know yourself better than I do, obviously. I don't think you're an anarchist, because anarchist has a connotation, especially in the 19th century, of supporting political violence and nihilism and forcibly overthrowing governments. And you don't sound to me like that kind of person at all. The way you talk, I would describe you as more of a libertarian or a classical liberal, in that mold. So, and I think that's a very, very respectable tradition, and it has very deep roots in our country. But that's just me. Gardner, thank you very much for that call. I appreciate it. Steve in Reading. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Steve.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Except frustrated this morning. In 2023, the year before last, the U.S. government collected almost $2.18 trillion in income taxes, and that is before they returned about $659 billion in refunds. So the total net collection may have been about $1.5 trillion. So if Elon Musk uncovers only $1 trillion in fraudulent and incompetent spending, that means 2/3 of the taxes we've paid to the IRS have been stolen or wasted.
Steve, that was the conclusion I reached last week. So, I mean, just to doubly underline and reinforce what you're saying. No, Steve, look, this is now the problem that I think the Democrats are in, and frankly, the media and the establishment. I cannot tell you how many text messages I've been getting since 8:50 when I first talked about this. And it has not stopped. Text line, emails on Messenger. People saying, Jeff, why should I pay taxes? And then everybody giving me their stories about how much they pay in taxes, or they sold a home, or they sold a second home, or how much they just paid in property taxes, and they're going to say, this is what they're saying. So what am I paying in taxes? So what, they can get robbed? I mean, literally rob me blind? This is thievery. This is not just irresponsible or mismanagement or misuse of our money, which it is, but this is now getting into outright theft on a massive, obscene scale. And I think when you start to look at how much of our tax money has actually been freaking stolen, I think you're going to see people say, you know what? Trump is right, man. Burn it all down. Agency after agency after agency after agency. Who the hell? I mean, my friends, I'm sorry, but they've been stealing from us. Now, what I'd like to know, and Elon is saying, look, if they left everything blank so you can't trace it, but hopefully he'll get some leads. I want to know who got the money, what organization got the money, and how long this has been going on.